Hey guys, Sora here and welcome back to another video. So join me inside of Torchlight Infinite. This is the new game I've been playing in place of the new Path of Exile League, because quite honestly I can't stand it anymore, but that's a different video for another time. Today I want to go through the endgame systems in Torchlight Infinite, as well as how to sort of map and get yourself started. So there's three different kinds of activities, three main different kinds of activities effectively. You have mapping, which is just running, whatever, running maps. You have bossing, which is, you have something akin to Uber Adziri from Path. This is more like Shaper. And the watches are sort of like the conquerors when they used to be mandatory, so you do them every so often in a region, and that will bump up your Atlas progression. And yeah, that's the mapping. The other kind of activity you can do is you walk over to this NPC. Path of the Brave or POB is also available. This is sort of like a D3 Greater Rift meets Simulacrum type deal. The damage requirement is absolutely ludicrous at the later levels, as you can maybe see here. But POB has really good exclusive loot, like 21 gems, Awakened or Precise gems, this game's version of Enlighten, things like that. So it's definitely worth doing it if you can manage it, but it's very hard content, and whilst detached from the main mapping system, you probably don't want to do POB 4 or 5 until you're able to complete the Uber versions of the mapping bosses. In terms of how you progress, you start off with a main quest that tells you to activate the device. This is essentially your Atlas from PoE. When you start, only Boiling Lava and Glacial Abyss will be unlocked, and you will be starting it all the way at time mark 1. How this works is essentially as you complete maps, you build up progression to do your Plane Watcher. Your Plane Watcher is essentially just a little boss to check your progress, and initially the main story quest here will tell you to kill Plane Watchers at a certain time mark or certain tier in a certain region. So my advice would be, when you're starting out, just do maps, just run maps. Don't worry too much about this card stuff yet. Push as high as you can, get as many cinders, which are these little red things, because they'll become more important later on. Completing Plane Watchers will also let you get higher time mark maps, which will be important for increasing your loot quantity and rarity. Some stuff also doesn't drop until you're above a certain level. Stuff like certain item bases won't drop unless you're at their item requirement, things of that nature. And in terms of how the rewards scale, you can see here on the side, if you go away to time mark 1, the mobs are lower level, which means the items they drop will also be over lower level. This is really only relevant for gear. This is less relevant for anything that's not gear. So cards, they're basically div cards. You have commodities, which is your flame fuel, your currency, your embers, which is your crafting currency. All of that doesn't really care about monster level, but gear does. Don't really want to bother picking up much gear to sell at this kind of level, because they simply won't have very good rolls. As you go up in the time marks, the level increases quite quickly. So 1 tier is actually more like 5 levels, and that's because so you see here level 82 to 83 in something like time mark 7. Levels are only like 2 apart, but in the mid levels, you can see here like let's something like time at 4, you get like 72 to 75. There's like quite a few levels in one time mark, so it's not that running something at a certain tier will grant you a guaranteed zone level. It's sort of different depending on what map in the region you're running in. There is no restriction on which map in the area you want to run, provided you have the beacons, which are essentially the maps of this game. Provided you have the correct time mark beacons, and rank 1 beacons will let you do 1 and 2, rank 2 beacons will let you do 3 and 4, rank 3 beacons 4, 5 and 6, and tier 4 beacons 7, tier 5 beacons tier 8, or uber tier. So a tier of beacon will be responsible for every 2 tiers of time mark, so you go up, and that's basically how you scale the level. So with the generics out of the way, essentially you run enough maps. Every time you kill a map boss, this bar will go up. Once it's full, you can challenge the Plane Watcher. If you kill the Plane Watcher, you can go up in time mark. That's essentially basic Atlas level progression. This is essentially your equivalent to Atlas completion. The major, like, sort of unique spin on it that Torchlight has implemented is the deck system. So you have 2 decks. This is the Chaos deck, and this is the Trait deck. The Chaos deck you can't really do anything about. Imagine these as just simply random encounters that you may be fortunately enough to get a decent one. So oftentimes you really want to maybe see this, Jealous. It's a guaranteed flame element. But the real spice is in the Trait deck. And how this works is you can have a maximum of 10, you'll start with 5. And essentially you can build your own reward types. Currently there are 2 major strategies. The first one being Sharp plus Generous plus where's the other one? Magnanimous, this one. So that essentially means every rare mob is like dropping a 6 mod, and then the 6 mod gets turned into Flame Sand, and 40% of the time that Flame Sand gets upgraded to a Flame Ellie, which is a decent chunk of money. The other strat, which I personally prefer more, is the Zeal strat. Magic mobs have a chance to drop 1 additional Ember, and you're essentially just stacking magic mobs, stacking benefits for magic mobs, things like that. And I also have Tolerant to have a little chance to double my Ember drops. So essentially you have FE conversion for rare mobs, or you can go Ember conversion with magic mobs. That's really the 2 main standout strategies currently. You can do the generic quant stacking. From what I've experienced, however, this isn't too worth it. Again, rarity does nothing for the currencies, so just stacking raw drops isn't seemingly too impressive. So that's the card system. The other thing that the game has is compasses. These are basically your sextants. These are your sextants plus your scarabs. The scarabs and sextants sort of bundled into one. Here you can use Netherrealm Resonance. This is basically just alching your map. So you can press the button to roll and try to get some game mods, some non-crappy mods for your build. But other than that, this is basically alching your map. This is basically sextants plus scarabs. And really that is all there is to know about the juice of this game. Yeah, that's really about it. There isn't too much more to know. The only thing noteworthy is notation. If someone's saying T something, they mean time mark. If they say T8, they're referring to Uber another realm, which is this here. If you kill the Realm Lord enough times, you get access to the Uber mode, Netherrealm Space-Time Turbulence, 85. This is effectively your tier 8 content. From what I've heard from other people, I haven't unlocked it myself yet, this is much harder than T7, so you probably want to be prepared before you want to go into T8. T8 is also currently not designed to be sustainable, so you're most likely going to have to be buying beacons, and T8 beacons are currently like almost at least one flame alley each, so I wouldn't go too overboard on T8 sustain or T8 buying. One way you can get some pretty guaranteed money is T7 watches are almost guaranteed, in fact I think they are guaranteed to drop at least one T5 map, so in that way you can definitely try to just run a T8 map once in a while. You most likely will not be able to sustain it though, pretty much regardless of what juice you put on it. But yeah, so one thing I forgot to mention, but each region will have their dedicated drops. These at the moment are purely car related, and while they do make some difference, do remember that like Path of Exile, mechanics that drop loot rather than naturally spawning math mobs. So for example, this season we have Dark Surge, which is essentially what I'll describe it as on-demand delirium. Those rewards, they would just simply ignore these restrictions. So if you open like a box, I think even if you're doing a trial, anything like that, they won't take into account this. So I wouldn't worry too much. Find a zone which you like a lot of layouts of. Personally, I really like Glacial Abyss, and I don't think Steelforge is too shabby either. The other ones kind of feel pretty bad to me though, so yeah. In terms of map sustain, I'm fairly consistently sustaining my T6 maps. T7, definitely not sustaining them, but that's okay. There really isn't too much I can drag on this video for about. That's pretty much the entire endgame system for the moment. So you have, just a recap, you have a Shaper type boss, you have Uber Adziri, you have your Simulacrum, and you have your generic map plus Conqueror system. That's about it though. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, hope you found it useful, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.